Hi, this is All This Science, the science podcast that explains an interesting aspect of science in 5 minutes or less. I'm Josiah, and I'm the guest podcaster for this episode on the Haber Process. The Haber-Bosch process is the method of synthesizing ammonia from hydrogen and nitrogen. It was originally developed by the German physical chemists Fritz Haber and Karl Bosch, and it made the production of ammonia economical. It was created because before World War I, Germany realized that their supply of nitrates would be cut off by the British and that they needed a new source. Fritz Haber had the answer to this when he created his process of synthesizing ammonia. The ammonia is oxidized to create nitrogen dioxide and nitrates, which are dissolved in water to create nitric acid, which is the reagent for most nitro-based explosives. It's believed that the creation of the Haber process is actually something that allowed the Germans to continue the war for many years longer because they had the means to create the explosives. In 1918, Fritz Haber won the Nobel Prize for the process and his contributions to agriculture. However, many people believed that he should not have gotten the Nobel Prize. Haber was a very nationalistic man, and he believed that scientists should do everything in their power to help their country in a time of war. He was actually the person who had the idea to use poison gas to kill troops in their trenches, and is considered to be the father of chemical warfare. Over the next years of the war, he developed other gases to be used against the Allies. Because of his role in the German chemical warfare program, there were many objections against him receiving a Nobel Prize, because the Allies had actually considered him a war criminal, which is understandable. It's amazing that the Haber process, which helps to feed so many people worldwide, has its origin in making explosives, and that the man who created the process was a war criminal. Now we'll talk about how the process works. The Haber process relies very heavily on Le Chatelier's principle, which is a principle regarding a dynamic equilibrium. This principle involves manipulating the equilibrium conditions to produce more of something, and in the case of the Haber process, that's ammonia. The process also relies on using a catalyst made of iron with potassium hydroxide in it to speed up the reaction. Without the catalyst, nothing happens within a reasonable amount of time. And the catalyst also allows for an equilibrium situation to be set up in the short amount of time that the gases are in the reactor together. In this reaction, the ratio of nitrogen to hydrogen is 1 mole of nitrogen for every 3 moles of hydrogen. Any other ratio is much less efficient and just wastes reactor space. When the gases are in the reactor, only about 15% of the gas converts to ammonia, so they are actually recycled several times through until about 98% has reacted, which is pretty much all of the gas. And now we move on to the conditions of the equilibrium. The first condition is the temperature that is to be used. According to Le Chatelier's principle, for an exothermic reaction, which is what the ammonia reaction is, to produce the most product, the temperature has to be as low as possible. However, this isn't efficient because it causes the reaction to take a much longer time. Therefore, a common temperature used is between 400 to 450 degrees Celsius, which produces a reasonable amount of ammonia in a very short amount of time. The second condition is the pressure. Since there are 4 molecules on the left-hand side and 2 molecules on the right-hand side, increasing the pressure of the system will shift the reaction to the right, producing more ammonia. This is because that side produces fewer molecules, which take up less space in the reactor. Additionally, higher pressures bring the molecules closer together, increasing the rate of the reaction. As high a pressure as is possible is the best, but high pressures are expensive to produce. The pipes and containment vessels need to be strong enough to withstand the pressure, but those are expensive to build and maintain. 200 atmospheres is a good compromise for this problem based on economics. The money required to produce and maintain a higher pressure outweighs the amount of money from the extra ammonia that would be produced. When the process is complete, in the reactor there will be 3 gases: ammonia, hydrogen, and nitrogen. There exists one last problem. How do you separate the gases from each other? This is actually a fairly simple problem to solve. Ammonia is easily liquefied under pressure if it isn't too hot, so as soon as the gases come out, the temperature is lowered and the ammonia liquefies. It is then easier to remove. And that concludes the Haber process. Thank you for listening to All This Science. You can contact us if you'd like at allthisscience@gmail.com. That's allthisscience@gmail.com.